What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking all about the most conventional ways that people name their business, talk you through the pros and cons of each, and then even throw out a couple really bad names that I see happen way too often. So stick with it and I'll walk you through everything and even show you how it came about my name and if I'm happy with that. So let's get to it. Hey guys, this is Logan with Contractor Growth Network, and today I'm talking all about naming a company. Dale Carnegie said the sweetest sound or the favorite word in anybody's head is their own name. And probably second to that is going to be your company's name. So let's talk about naming companies, some of the most common ways that we see it done, and then some of the pros and cons of each kind of the way. So let me walk you through, first off, full sale marketing, how I came up with it, and am I happy with it right now? And full disclosure, I'm not actually. So when I'm starting my company, I know I wanted to focus on contractors, but I wasn't that sure. I knew I wanted to do marketing like as a 100%, so somewhere in there, I wanted the term marketing. Well, I asked a bunch of people, a bunch of contractors, and said, what would you name it? And after a bunch of stuff came back, it came up with smooth sales marketing, or smooth sailing marketing, right? Which meant when you work with me, it's gonna be easy together. Well, that domain name was taken up, so the next thing was full sale marketing, which my idea was, hey, when you work with us, you know, we got the wind at our backs, so we're gonna be pushing forward, it's gonna be great. Here's the problem. It has nothing to do with contractors. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, but it confuses people. First off, because when they say full sale marketing, if it said, you know, contractor, like that's why we named our channel Contractor Growth Network, because everything that we put out is all about helping contractors grow. So this makes more sense. But full sale marketing is more of a generic phrase or term. So that's the first thing that frustrates me, is it's not that relevant aside from the marketing. Number two, when I say it and when I tell people, hey, you know, it's full sale, I have to spell out S-A-I-L. So what happens with a lot of people, and I'll talk about this, is they use their last name in their business name. Well, my last name is Shinholzer. Could you imagine how many times I would have to spell out my last name every time I say my company name? It would be about 100% of the time. Make sure that you're picking a name that will be easy for you to recite. Because this also comes down to when people pick out website domain names. Like for me, typing out on your cell phone fullsalemarketing.com, it's a lot. So keep that in mind as well. And then last but not least, it just, at this point, like, it just doesn't really make any sense, right? It doesn't have to do with contractors. It's a long name. So if I could go back and change it, would I? 100%. But I'm stuck with it, and it's one of those catch-22s of, do I bite the bullet and totally rebrand, or do I just keep the ball rolling? And at this point, it's easier just to keep the ball rolling. So if you're in one of these situations where it's not the best name, don't freak out, because it happens to the best of us. So let's go through the three most common ways that people name their business, and mainly their contracting business. Before we do that, do me a favor, hit that like button, right? It's gonna help out the YouTube algorithm big time, and we can get this brand name, Contractor Growth Network, out there even more. So let's talk about the three different ways that people will name their company. First off, let's go with the generic, what people conceive as boring name, which is whatever city you live in, whatever services you provide, all right? We're here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So if I just said Charlotte Remodelers, very boring. Here's the great part about Charlotte Remodelers. There is no confusion as to what you do. We're remodelers in Charlotte, and that's it. So it's super easy for people to understand and remember. Number two, this is actually, I co-own a outdoor landscape lighting company up in Maryland, and we named it Premier Outdoor Lighting of Maryland. Well, outdoor lighting, low voltage lighting, and landscape lighting are all pretty synonymous with each other. So what did I do? I went on Google and looked up how often are people looking up outdoor lighting versus low voltage lighting versus landscape lighting. And 10-to-1, outdoor lighting beat landscape lighting. So what am I gonna do? I want my brand name to actually have what people are searching for in it. Now, this is not foolproof, and Google is very smart in the sense that this used to be really popular, right? If people, like if I made my company name Contractor Marketing, and if somebody looked up contractor marketing, I would be #1 in Google. Well, now Google is starting to kind of understand this game more and more and more, so it doesn't help as much as it used to. And case in point is, if you look up, you Google the terms like social network. I'm sure socialnetwork.com doesn't show up first. Same with sports. If you type in sports into Google, the first company that actually has the word sports in the name is like Sports Illustrated. ESPN, it's just an abbreviation. I think MSN.com/sports, again, MSN has nothing to do with sports. So it's not as prevalent, but it'll help. And that's what I wanted to do for this business. So for Premier Outdoor Lighting of Maryland, I made sure that I had the location in there, Maryland, and I had the actual service that we do, outdoor lighting. So if I had to restart a company and start a actual contracting company in an area, that's what I would do. I would just say Charlotte Remodelers, Dallas Roofers, whatever it is, so people understand exactly what's going on. All right, it seems kind of boring, which is kind of a con, but the pro is there is no mistake as to what you do, and Google will kind of reward you for that still. All right, so the second naming convention is going a little bit more outside the box. Tom Reber, who owns Contractor Fight, co-owner of CSA, he used to have a company called Jalapeno Paint Works, W-E-R-X, and like the logo was like literally a jalapeno, I think, painting. And it's super, super outside the box, which, as a brand name, makes you stand out a lot. That's one of the biggest pros to it, is you can have fun, you can, because it is a kooky name, it kind of represents who's behind the scenes, or at least who should be behind the scenes, right? A fun person, kind of a goofball, but you know what they do with the paintworks, but you have no idea what the hell the jalapeno stands for. That's more of just a brand thing, so that's a big pro. The con is nobody is going into Google initially to search up jalapeno paintworks, right? They're probably looking, because back where he was in Chicago, they're probably looking up Chicago Painting Company. Well, imagine in Google's eyes, what company is going to do better initially? Somebody named Jalapeno Paintworks versus somebody named Charlotte Painting Company, or Chicago Painters, or Chicago Painting Company. It's going to be the latter. So in the grand spectrum, in the grand scheme of things, having a brand name like a Jalapeno Paintworks is fun, it stands out, it's cool, it tells a bit about your background, but until you actually become a brand that people know, like, and trust, there's not going to be that many people actually searching for you. So you're going to have to kind of play the long game on this one. So be aware of that you might fall into that trap. So that's the second way to do it. One of the cool things I know, like for my dad's company, is called Premier Ponds. Well, the alliteration is awesome. People absolutely love the alliteration behind Premier Ponds because it just like naturally comes off your tongue. I would always go with something that shows high end. I've seen certain things where, like, instead of Premier Ponds, they'll name it like Budget Ponds. Well, here's the difference, is that you have these preconceived, it's called a presupposition, which is how you think about certain words. So if you're thinking about the words Budget Ponds, you're always gonna be thinking, oh, they're cheap. And if Budget Ponds now changes up their business model where they go, we no longer wanna be the Walmart, we now wanna be the Nordstrom's, how are you gonna ask for Nordstrom's prices when your name is Budget Ponds? Everybody's gonna now immediately associate your company with being cheap, and now you're digging yourself out of a hole. So make sure that if you are gonna do more of a standout name, that there's nothing negative behind it, because otherwise that is gonna be an uphill battle every single time. All right, and here's the last one. The last one is gonna be your last name, and then whatever services you provide. Let me give you an example. So one of our clients, Dan Sherwood, his company name, Sherwood Paint, right? Super simple. People know the last name, they know the service, so it's straightforward. Here's one of the pros, is it's now your company, you are the brand. So that means that if you do good work, then people will associate the work with you, which is fantastic. That's exactly what you want. Now, one of the problems with that is you're now the face of the company. What happens when you want to sell it off, or you want to, bring in a partner or something like that? Because you are the face of the company, that's going to be tough. So you need to be aware of that before you name your company with your last name, and then whatever service you do. There's actually a guy that I talked to probably about 1.5 years ago, and let's just say his name was like Smith Remodeler, right? Like that was the name of his company, last name was Smith. I was asking him, I was like, what's your end goal of the business? And he said, well, I want to give it off to my son. I want to hand it down. Son's like 1.5 years old. I said, great, okay. what happens, because your son's so young, what happens if he doesn't want to grow up to take on the business? He goes, well, I'll kill it off. It's like, kill it off? What do you mean? He goes, well, my last name is attached to it. I don't want somebody tarnishing my last name. So if he doesn't want it, then I'm just gonna kill it off. And I was like, you wouldn't sell it? And he said, nope, I wouldn't sell it. So that, to me, was like a big ego thing of, I'm naming it for my name, and I'm not gonna let somebody else ruin my name. So that obviously has a bunch of other, there's a bunch of other issues going on with this dude as far as like running a business, but it's very tough to sell off a name. You can sell off all the customers, you can sell off the customer list, but to actually sell a full-on company, it would be weird if, Logan Shinholster is running Davis Marketing, right? Oh, why Davis Marketing? Well, I bought it from a guy named Steve Davis, right? So be aware of that when you're naming it with your last name. And then also, if you're like me with a last name that sucks to spell, you're gonna have to spell it out every single time, right? Shinholster Marketing would not work, because I have yet to actually interact with a customer service rep on the phone that didn't ask me to spell it out. So I would literally be doing that every single time. So be aware of that. If you're gonna use your last name, that's cool. You're always gonna be attached to it. If you do work and you have a unique last name, like if everybody in Charlotte knows that Shinholster Marketing sucks, and I say, hey, I'm Logan Shinholster, I'm screwed. So be aware of that. And then last but not least, it's gonna be very tough to sell when you actually wanna go ahead and sell off the company if you get to that point. So those are the really big 3 ways that people do it. 1, they go generic, which is just location and services they provide. That's my personal favorite. Number 2 is going to be something fun and kind of kooky. It stands out. Make sure if you're doing this, you go for something that is going to stand out in a good way, not a negative way that if you ever change your business model or something like that, it's going to be tough to overcome. And last but not least, using your last name. It's cool if you're an awesome person and you can run a company and you want to become the brand and the face of the company, but it's going to be tough when you actually want to sell that company, because now you're stuck with it. So I hope that helps. Do me a favor, smash that like button, because it really will help the YouTube algorithm get our message out there to everybody, and that way I'll feel more comfortable on camera and I don't have to do as many hand gestures. So please smash the like button and make sure that if you're thinking about naming your company, you consider these 3 ways to do it. And for me personally, number 1 is my favorite. Thanks.